For nearly 3 months, from February to May 2022, the coastal city was severed from the outside world. Electricity, water, and essential lifelines were cut. There were no secure corridors for escape, no path for reinforcements, and no option for retreat. The battle for Mariupol was not merely a military engagement. It became the most brutal test of modern urban warfare, a symbol of a conflict where there appeared to be no way out. From the first day of the military operation on February 24, 2022, Russian forces launched a major offensive from Crimea, advancing along the coast of the Sea of Azov. The strategic objectives were clear and decisive: to establish a land bridge connecting Crimea to the Donbass region, to secure complete control over Ukraine's southern coastline, and to effectively cut Ukraine off from the Sea of Azov. Mariupol was situated at the linchpin of this proposed corridor. If the city held, Russia's southern front would remain fragmented and incomplete. If the city fell, the entire southern strategy would be unlocked, enabling a consolidation of territorial gains and a significant shift in the operational landscape. The strategic value of Mariupol extended far beyond its geographical location. It was a powerhouse of heavy industry, a critical seaport facilitating international trade, and a major metallurgical center, home to the sprawling Azovstal and Ilyich steel and iron works. Militarily, the city was a natural urban fortress. Its dense residential districts, robust industrial infrastructure, an extensive network of underground tunnels, and fortified structures offered a formidable defensive advantage. Politically, its significance was immense. It was Ukraine's last major stronghold on the Sea of Azov, and, controversially, the primary base of the Azov Brigade, a unit that had become a focal point of the conflict's ideological narratives. The fight for Mariupol was therefore a contest for a prize whose worth vastly exceeded its physical size. The initial phase of the operation was characterized by a rapid and overwhelming encirclement. In late February and early March 2022, Russian and Donetsk People's Republic forces advanced from the east and north, while Russian units moving from Crimea closed in from the west. Within a short period, Mariupol was completely surrounded. Its connections to the outside world were methodically severed as power grids. Water supplies and communication networks were disabled. Effective supply corridors ceased to exist. Ukrainian attempts to break the siege, deliver large-scale reinforcements, or establish a functional airlift proved unsuccessful against the tightening cordon. From this point forward, the defenders in Mariupol were isolated, initiating a desperate battle for survival against an enemy with compounding advantages. What followed was a descent into brutal urban warfare and a campaign of extreme attrition. The Ukrainian defense was a composite force, comprising regular Marine units, the Azov Brigade, National Police, and local territorial defense forces. They implemented a determined defense, fighting block by block and utilizing the city's dense urban environment and massive industrial facilities as pre-prepared fortifications. They waged a close-quarters battle, leveraging their knowledge of the terrain to mount ambushes and delay the advance. On the other side, the Russian forces brought to bear their absolute dominance and firepower. A relentless barrage of artillery, tactical airstrikes, guided missiles, and heavy bombs was unleashed upon the city. This was no longer a war of maneuver, but a systematic process of attrition, aimed at annihilating defensive positions through overwhelming force. The result was widespread devastation, immense civilian casualties, and the near-total collapse of the city's infrastructure. As Russian forces consolidated their control over most of Mariupol's residential and commercial districts, the remaining Ukrainian defenders executed a planned withdrawal into the Azovstal industrial complex. This was no ordinary factory. Spanning over 11 square kilometers, Azovstal was a city within a city. A labyrinth of steel and concrete designed with the possibility of sustained warfare in mind. Its most critical feature was a deep and extensive system of underground tunnels and bunkers, capable of sheltering personnel and withstanding even the most powerful conventional ordnance. A direct infantry assault into this fortified maze would have been exceedingly costly and difficult for the advancing forces. Faced with this impregnable fortress, the Russian command opted for a different strategy: a complete blockade. The objective shifted from capturing the plant to encircling it. cutting off all supplies and systematically exhausting the defenders' resources until resistance was no longer possible. Azovstal was transformed into a symbol, a focal point where military, humanitarian, and political pressures converged. By May 2022, the situation for the defenders inside the steel plant had become untenable. Ammunition was nearly depleted. Medical supplies were exhausted, leaving hundreds of wounded soldiers without adequate treatment. With no prospect of relief and no ability to continue an organized resistance, the decision was made to cease combat operations. The surrender of the Azovstal garrison was not a tactical failure or a collapse in morale. It was the logical conclusion of a mission that had reached its physical limits. The defenders had held out for a T2 days, tying down significant enemy forces and resources, but the military utility of their continued resistance had expired. On May 20, 2022, Mariupol officially fell under Russian control. In assessing the campaign, the outcomes are stark. From a military perspective, Russia achieved its core strategic objectives in the south, securing the land corridor and consolidating its grip on the Sea of Azov. Ukraine lost control of a vital economic and symbolic city. However, this success came at an immense price. The prolonged siege of Mariupol consumed a significant amount of Russian time, firepower, and manpower, resources that could have been deployed on other fronts during the critical initial phase of the conflict. For Ukraine, the determined defense of the city for nearly 3 months bought invaluable time for other fronts to organize, regroup, and prepare for subsequent offensives. The battle for Mariupol did not reverse the overall course of the war, but it profoundly shaped its pace and character, demonstrating that even a successful operation can incur debilitating costs. Ultimately, Mariupol stands as a potent symbol of modern warfare. The battle demonstrated how a determined defense can transform a city into a formidable fortress, capable of resisting a technologically superior force for an extended period. It showed that overwhelming firepower does not guarantee a quick or decisive victory, particularly in a complex urban environment. More than anything, it highlighted the attritional nature of contemporary conflict, where the lines between winning and losing are blurred by the sheer scale of destruction. But the question that lingers over its ruins is a profound one. Can a victory be considered complete when it is achieved over a city that has been almost entirely erased?